Hello and welcome to episode 4 of 5 Minute Retro. What I've got here is the Cruiser joystick by a company called Powerplay, and this is my own Cruiser joystick from the mid-1980s, about 1986 I think this joystick came out. I had this one for the Sinclair Spectrum, and back in the day it was considered a pretty luxurious joystick, and that's because it was fully micro switched, which means that you can hear the buttons clicking. There's a micro switch, and the joystick has a micro switch for each of the 4 main directions, although it offered 8 directional control by obviously actuating 2 switches at once. And that was quite unusual back in the day, and the joystick originally retailed for about $14.99, and when you consider that games back then, certainly for the Spectrum, used to cost about £7 or £8, that was quite an investment. And for someone like me, it was several weeks pocket money, so I saved up and I bought the Cruiser. The other unusual feature of the Cruiser, certainly unusual at that time, was this little collar here. It offered the ability to control the amount of torque, and if you look very closely, there's a little arrow, and with a certain technique that takes a little bit of mastering, a lift and twist, you can actually increase the torque. Unfortunately on my joystick it just makes it creak all the more, so it's not a very satisfying thing. The joystick itself connects using I think it's what they call a DE9 connector. I just used to call it a 9-pin D sub, and I used to plug that into a Kempston joystick interface on my Spectrum. Computers like the Amiga and I think the Atari ST had these built-ins, you could just plug in and go. On the base of the joystick are 4 rubber pads, which you can stick down and have that proper arcade feel, because it would, on a decent flat surface, not this bench which is covered in grooves, so it doesn't really stick down very well, but on a decent surface you have a nice firm base to play your games. And the other really interesting thing about the joystick that I can't demonstrate on video because I only have this one, is that it came in a bunch of pretty lurid colours. Obviously this is blue, white and red, but there was also a green, a model with a green body and yellow buttons and a pink shaft, and those pastel shades, and also an all black model. I think there was also a transparent model as well, but I never actually saw that back in the day. Just out of interest earlier, I removed the screws from this joystick because I was trying to figure out why it was creaking so much, but I discovered something else that certainly back in the day I would not have known about this joystick. And we have here, as I said, the 4 micro switches for each of the directions, but at the top here you'll notice under the buttons there's only 1 micro switch, and this single actuator arm, which when you press a button, I'm not going to do it now because the arm will pop out, it creates a little lever effect that then pushes the micro switch. So those aren't actually individually switched buttons, which, as I said, back in the day I'm not sure, well I'm certain back in the day I didn't know that, but then back in the day I probably wouldn't have been brave enough to pull apart a joystick for which I paid £15. Yeah, so that's about it for that joystick. The company itself, Powerplay, I believe they went on to make a couple of other joysticks. There was the Crystal Turbo, which I think was a more advanced version of this, and then a joystick called the Terminator, but again I don't know very much about that, and this is the only one I had. Yeah, I don't suppose there's a lot else you can say about a joystick, is there? So even for 5 Minute Retro, I'm struggling to say a lot more. I'm sure some of you will tell me off for that, but hey, I've done the best I can. If you like what I do, then perhaps hit the subscribe button, which will be up there somewhere, or if you just want to see some more of what I do, there'll be some little icons there with links to some of my previous videos. And here's to the next episode, and thanks for watching. Happy Retro.